Sorry about that. It's 9:10 in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. It's still June 29th, 2022. What's going on? Art Inventory, otherwise known as Daryl. What's going on, dude? Where to? It's just, when I do a Google search, especially when we're dealing with a topic like Aristotle, man, it's like, I left a lot of hits. Especially the PDF files I need specifically if I wanted to keep it short and sweet. Short and sweet on this guy. Because Aristotle right there is a madman. Especially when he's dealing with a lot of information concerning about politics. It goes probably over your head. Over a lot of people's head, and I don't blame them, because how would you like to deal with a Greek that has been figuring this stuff, had already figured this stuff out, and we poor humans in the 21st century still don't understand what he was talking about? This man, I'd gone to Political Science 101. I'd gone through a couple more. Excuse me one second. Sorry. I'd gotten through a lot of this, trying to figure this whole mess out. And he is one of those philosophers who can actually challenge you in more ways than one. And you have to understand, this is incredible stuff. Probably the regular person could not understand about what he's been talking about. And there are a lot of books about him from a lot of authors. There had been something on the internet.org or internetarchive.org that has about 400 or 500 pages of his original works translated, but still. And it's something for law scholars and political science scholars to read. I know, because I had to. Talking about democracy, my friend. Democracy is one of those weakest governments out there. Doing a Google search on this. I typed out a question or a statement. List of government systems per Aristotle. What Aristotle was talking about. It's putting me back over to Stanford Health again. I wanted to get a listing of this thing because it's going to tell me a hell of a lot more than what I expect. I've got the screen prints, but also for PDF files to be made out of printing paper. I can say PDF files better than I do anything else at this point. There are several of them out there. And it's hard for people to understand that this, okay, you want to do it the easy way, Wikipedia on that one. Okay. You got democratic, non-democratic, and other types. Democratic, what we understand, we'll try to understand, is what we got right now, which is a representative democracy. Basically, we have electors that elect representatives, or actually, we actually do elect representatives to be placed in Congress, House. I'm doing great. Senate and the House, all of that. And we elect electors to elect the president of a party choice. Well, we have political conventions presidents left and right. We're seeing electors out there. And these electors will be traded like crazy sometimes to either vote for the right guy or not. But we're still going to be voting for the president regardless. We're using the Electoral College system because this was set up over 240 some odd years ago. Excuse me. And it worked back then, but we've got multiples out here. Now we can actually do a direct democracy, actually do direct voting. Every vote count, one person, one vote. They did that back in Greece. The population wasn't all that much, so they could do it that way. And then they could do it. We got what we call a representative democracy or a Republican government. We are not a parliamentary government. Look at England, for example. The only best example I know is parliamentary. You got prime minister, which is similar to a president, but they have the political power, but not the absolute monarch power as their government has. They still have parliamentary, and they also have a monarch system. But the monarchy is only for representative at this point over here, giving other thoughts and opinion, but the real power is in the Parliament, House of Commons, House of Lords. What we've been looking at regarding our so-called GOP, turned to be Trumplicans, there are different descriptions of what kind of forms of government that they are demonstrating, either authoritative, totalitarian, or dictatorship. They keep telling people about the Democrats are for socialism and for communism. If they only would understand what the hell that meant and understood the history of how it formed and why it formed in the first place. I guess they didn't. They don't care because they think the public is ignorant as hell. And sometimes I keep thinking that the public is ignorant as hell. But this is heavy stuff. I mean, in high school classes, in colleges, they teach about this in detail. When you're growing up, they give you a little bit of the government system bit by bit by bit. When you get into junior high, they give you a little bit more about what the government system is supposed to be. In high school, you're supposed to be able to drink this stuff up. The basics of our own government systems and a little bit others. However, when I was growing up, we did study about other countries and other cultures in junior high, and in high school, all I was studying was U.S. history during that time, and government. And government was our system. Government was talking about our systems, how we did the elections, how we did the Electoral College. I mean, basic government stuff that we would try to understand if we could. But we also had to recite it back in essays and in tests to show them that we understand how our government system worked. Excuse me. We barely had that knowledge going. And these days, it's even worse and worse that when we do the test scores of people, they don't even understand how to read English or actually understand the political system or the history that we have. Because I don't think there's been enough emphasis on that. In the community college I'm at, and it is a liberal, libtard place. Because it's not conservative enough. Because it's full of fake news and fake media stuff. Because it's not Trumplicans. You know, it's not all conspiracies where us Democrats are going to be drinking the blood of babies. Or anything else to that matter. They're all a bunch of socialists and communists. We're being put into a mindset where we're going to be wearing the same colored clothes and saluting our hands to a group of people we don't even know who the hell they are. But basically, that's what you're doing for the to the far right now, and they're forcing an issue. A lot of fear mongering left and right, and we have to keep telling them on the fear mongering. We have to keep telling them education. No, it's brainwashing. We got the books here for you. Well, that's brainwashing. No, it isn't. It's education. How is our education different from yours? Because this is brainwashing. We say so. Us versus them again. Right. But you're so communist. You're so socialist. You want things for free. Okay. The last time. Well, nearly the last time. Shall we get into this? And this is going to be a long-ass video. Socialism and communism are not what that representative democracy is that we're trying to follow under the guidelines of the U.S. Constitution. And the Constitution was never of that nature. It was trying to guarantee limitations of the government system on the people who still need the government system to help them with certain situations. We're talking about foreign trade, we're talking about defense of the country here, we're talking about interstate commerce, we're talking about regulation of currency at this point over here. But we're also talking about implied powers given to the states and the local constabulatories for them to run their areas. As long as it doesn't interfere with the Constitution or the amendments or the civil rights that we have built into it, the basic Bill of Rights. And that's where we have to have court systems to decide whether or not we have interference or not, all the way up to a Supreme Court. Got it? I just think communist and just socialist. You want things for free. Okay. Here it is. Socialism is a bunch of assholes who are telling people that they are equal, but not equal. Because this group of people will be using military force or police force to get what they want. Power. Control. Oh, you'll have your free stuff, but they're not going to really have it for free, are you? What they consider democratic socialists at this point over here, they want the government system to pay for the damn thing. The problem is we have to put money into the system in order to get things out of the damn system, which means we need to be taxed. Excuse me. Sorry. We need to be taxed. We need to put money into a system in order to utilize it to get things that we need out of it. Taxes we pay in for local. You go to a store, you buy an item, they get you taxed. The money goes back into the community. Money taken out of your payroll, that's the money. And all that, and all those taxes coming through. Some of it we do get back as refunds when there are certain guidelines met by the IRS and state and federal laws. As for the other funding concerning about other sources, corporate taxes and property taxes and other kind of tax. There's a lot of them out there. I wish I had my mother's smarts for this one here. She could figure the shit out. But basically, all the money we're putting into the government in one form or another usually helps us to help pay for the bills, pay our bills with the rest of the nations out there. We do all. But also supply programs we need desperately. We have emergency situations, we have military, we have commercial, we have criminal, we have otherwise. Otherwise, in the part of where we're saying the free grants and giveaways. Healthcare, education, it's not free, we're getting it for the taxpayer. So the taxpayers are paying my way through college. Because I am in certain criteria here, I qualify for state and federal to put me through college in order to make me educated enough to put back into the community. if I had the smarts back then, or the maturity back then, when I got out of high school, by this time I really would have been supplying income, hopefully, into the system, back into the system actually, to repay all those things. Not a loan though. The loan is where you're borrowing, and then you have to pay it back with interest. The grants are just grants I give you. And a lot of people think that's communism or socialism. No, I call that an investment. I invested my money for a long time into the federal government system. They're doing whatever they needed to do. And now I'm calling it back to continue an educational route that I should have done a long time ago, but wasn't ready for. But now, as an adult, as an old fart, I'm doing it. So as much time as I got left in my life, I got to be doing something to repay in kindness, and how to show the education wasn't wasted. The understanding of sciences, of math, of language, of history, of culture, of politics. Those things I've been learning throughout nearly a decade, going to a community college, taking a couple of classes at a time. In this way, I was learning more and more about my cultural heritage, about the culture of mankind screwing himself over one way or another, if I wanted to look at it in that particular point of view. But if I wanted to look at it in another point of view, it would be a different thing altogether. And understanding the players that we have in our world here, what they represent, also has a bearing, direct and indirect, in my life. Voluntarily and involuntarily. I had seen things, I had read reports, I had experienced a few things. All of it has everything to do with my life at this point in time. It doesn't make me a socialist, it doesn't make me a communist. They're similar, but they're different. Communist, you got Putin. Socialist, you got China. They'll say it otherwise. But communist, also you have North Korea. I'm not quite so sure about China. I think they're both socialist and communist. If he doesn't have a group behind him backing up President Xi, then he's in a totalitarian. He's almost into a dictatorship. He's calling the shots and everything. Not a group. Him. Just like Putin. Putin's used in the disguise of democracy, making himself a hidden wolf in democracy. He's authoritative, totalitarian, and he's a dictator. All at the same damn time, but he's elected official. You get rid of the competition, there's only one guy, and he makes it democracy. Not really, because democracy, you have many sides trying to get that vote, according to Aristotle. But people don't want to read about that shit, do they? They don't want to understand it, because if they did, it'd scare the living crap out of them. And it's scary what we're dealing with. So, if I'm going to have somebody talk to me about our liberalism is turning out to be worse than what they thought about. Laissez-faire. Capitalism rules and everything else rules. Money talks, everything else walks. Whoever's got the more cash, whoever's got the elitism going on, whoever has the control of the pyramid, so to speak, well, they're having the say, and people down below are going to have to struggle up. And they're going to be running into barriers left and right. The elitism stay on the top of the pyramid, and we're still on the bottom fighting each other because that's the way they like it. If we started fighting our way up, then elitism have no other support, do they? They need the support from down below to keep the pyramid atop. Otherwise, they collapse. And big businesses don't like that because corporate has to deal with that kind of collapse. What happens if the government does collapse? Seriously. What if the United States government at one point collapses? You have individual states still trying to fight whether or not if they are still part of the union or not. And they're going to have to make decisions on their own. They tried to do that back in 1800s. Let's see, 1860, between 1860 and 1864, when they actually had the Civil War. The only problem is, we had them barricaded enough where we starved their ass out and beat the shit out of them. The union did that. For various reasons. And they're still arguing that reason today. They still want to make sure that we still get affirmative action. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have that anymore. At least not for the colleges. Thanks a lot to a conservative judgeship. On the Supreme Court, they knocked that out. Some people liked it and other people didn't. Welcome to politics. Oh yeah, fun in it.